Hello everybody, finally, another video. I was able to read, as you have noticed from the title, I was able to read all the second part from this book, 1984, George Orwell. I did a previous video talking about the first part, and now I'm gonna be talking about the second part of the book that took me quite a while to finish, not gonna lie. Not because I didn't like, it was because I didn't have the time to read. I didn't have a lot of time, but whatever. That's not on the topic. Um, I took some notes. As I said in the previous video that I was talking about the first part, I was saying that for this chapter, for this second part, I was going to take notes of every single chapter. So we're going to be talking about that. To all the chapters, what happened in each chapter. Of course, I'm not going into details that much because you're going to take me along to talk about the whole second part if I do that, but whatever. Also, be aware of spoilers because I'm going to be talking about the book without caring about giving major spoilers. So be aware of that if you don't want to get spoilers about the book. Whatever, let's go. The first part of the book ended, if I remember correctly. Winston was going back home, and he saw a lady that he hated. That he basically despised that lady, and he had some hopes that the lady was a part of the top police and he was going to die, and he had like a panic attack. That's how the first part ended. So now we start the second part in the first chapter. Well, basically, let's see. The girl from the previous chapter, from the previous part, it is makes an appearance again. She okay, I remember now. She hands a note to Wisdom, a little paper. She in this chapter, in the first chapter, hands a note to Wisdom, and Wisdom basically starts like daydreaming and panicking about that note. That what could it be? Because it is hard for him to basically make time to be able to read that note because, as we know, doing that might put him in danger if other person notice that he's reading a paper. But yeah, he read the paper, and the paper said, I don't remember very well, but okay, I put some notes about that. The note that the lady hands to Winston says, I love you. That's what the note said. So Winston started daydreaming and panicking about that. He started daydreaming because my boy was never been told that. And also he started panicking because he was wondering if this girl was trying to set him up to basically being caught by the top police. Later on, he tries to talk to the lady, but was really hard for him to basically find a moment in the day to be able to talk with her because they didn't work in the same department. They just saw each other like rarely. So it was really hard for Winston. Um, this was really good. Winston gets cut block literally because he's in the cafeteria, let's say the spirited way, and he saw the opportunity to talk to the lady. I remember this very well. And he's going to talk to the lady, and this dude, all of the sudden, is a friend of Winston, show us, and he's like, "Hey, Winston, come here, sit with me." Whatever. My boy gets cut block literally. Um, then Winston find a way to talk with the lady in the cafeteria too. They well they managed to basically they didn't speak to each other a lot. They just like sit to each other and acknowledge the node and acknowledge that they wanted to go in a date, to have more privacy. And they well they talk a little bit, and all I can say about this chapter is that my boy Wisdom fell in love. This guy that he despised this lady. Wisdom literally from before he wanted to kill this lady, and now he's just daydreaming and in love, and he's like a teenager right now in this chapter, and that's how the first chapter of this part ends. And I jump into the second chapter of the second part. My boy Winston is going to meet the girl. Basically, they manage to arrange a date, and they reach a place where they can talk. In this conversation, we learn that the name of this lady is Julia. I don't know why I write this, but I put in my note Winston's fumbles at 10 out of 10. I don't remember where I put this, but I'm pretty sure that Winston says something stupid or did something stupid, because Julia is basically a 10 out of 10. So he fumbles her. I don't remember how, but he did that. I'm so sad that I don't remember that right now. But whatever. Let's keep reading this. Um, Okay, and they keep talking, and the fire is back. Julia's back on business and back with the insert. I remember now. They're in a spot that is like really low. They're about to, make the deal. My boy Winston is like not working, or it was something like that. But then he starts talking, and Julia gives him a second try. Winston managed to provide. Yeah, that was there, because later I write down right here that Wisdom hit that. So yeah, my boy was able to hit that. He didn't fumble Julia. This part is really funny. We find out that Julia is from the streets. He basically has slept with a lot of people from the party, from the inner party and all of that. Um, and this for Wisdom, this is like so hot, because for Winston, he feels like being like a whole, like from the streets, um goes totally against the ideology of the party. The party have this whole uh, idea that you have to remain pure and virgin, and all of that, and don't have relations with anyone, neither sexual or love relationship. And for Winston, this is like awesome. He really likes this about Julia. And Julia being this way makes Winston have like a sexual interest towards her. Yeah, I write it down here. For Winston, being promiscuous, it was a political act. For Winston, was not like a was not being whole or something like that. It was a political act, because it went against the ideology of the party. Um, I don't blame Winston. That's his taste, whatever, and that's how the second chapter ends. Um, yeah, and then we jump to the third chapter. That this chapter I remember very well, because it was like basically to know more about Julia, where she works. Basically, what she did, well, in the place that she works is like in the novels department, and she gave us like a whole explanation of how this department works. That only women work there, not married women, only single women can work there. And yeah, it's basically a novels department. It it is like that. It doesn't have like a deeper meaning. And then Julia talks about how the women are. Basically, they in this chapter they gave us an explanation about basically how the whole um, female gender acts in this future. Um, okay, and then this chapter talks a little bit about the Winston and Julia relationship and how it's getting harder and harder to meet up. How it's becoming a difficulty to meet each other, to basically is keep seeing each other every single day and all of that. And there are sometimes that week pass and they haven't talked to each other and all of that, and they have basically at this point of the book fall into a relationship. They're basically in a relationship, and Winston is like heavily thinking a lot about Julia, and also Julia expressed a lot of interest towards Winston. If I remember correctly, in this chapter happens a lot of other things, like a bomb falls under the under the city, and a lot of people died, and I don't remember very well, but he saw like Julia being hit by that. So it was really weird, but I didn't understand very well if it was a drain or something like that. Maybe my brain comprehension there was really on, but yeah, that's what I get about this chapter. And then we jump to chapter 4. That is okay. This chapter is also an, a chapter of interest of mine, and it's basically wisdom business the antique, and I have a really lot of time with the word. Basically, the shop where Wisdom bought his diary and also the old lamp that he bought. Um, and he says that the that shop is the perfect place to meet with Julia, because if you remember correctly from the part 1, the shop in the top floor has like a living room, and for Wisdom that place is perfect to meet with Julia. So they arrange a date, and was really hard because the hate week is coming. So all the basically departments, the novel department, every single basically job position focus on the hate week, and so they work extra hours. So it was really hard for them to meet. But yeah, they meet at the anti-week store at the top floor, and have in mind that this floor, this place, now become like the main place. Yeah, it becomes like a the only place that they went to meet each other. So from now on, basically every single interaction that Julia and Winston had is in this place. Just just for your knowledge. Well, they meet there, and Julia managed to get her hands in some food and nuggets from the inner party. What I mean by this is that basically Julia manages to get like good food, good stuff, coffee, chocolate, all of that, but also wine that basically was not like bad or not tasteful. Um, Coffee, Chuck Piston, because if I remember correctly, he have tried good coffee before, or have tried coffee in general before, but he had forget all the taste and all of that. But now he's able to taste that again, and this chapter shows like the how the inner, so only the top people have like access to good things, and also we have a little interaction, and we find out that Julia is scared of rats because a rat pick his way out in the top floor, and Julia basically panics. And also this is very very. I don't remember. It was interesting because from the first part of the book, the guy from the shop teach Winston a rhyme, and also Julia. In this chapter, we find out that Julia knows the rhyme that Winston says. Um, it's the rhyme about St. Clement's Den. So that's something funny about the chapter, and that's how the fourth chapter end. And then we jump to the fifth chapter. Well, number 5, chapter number 5. Syme died. Syme? Who is Syme? Syme is the clever guy that was working in the Newspeak dictionary. That Winston in the first part said this guy is going to be murdered because he's so clever, he's so intelligent. Well, we find out that that guy basically was erased from existence. That yeah, all of the sudden his name was no longer in the I don't remember what, but he used to participate like in doing a sport. I think it was like the chess club or something like that. But his name was no longer there, and Winston noticed that yeah, that the guy basically was erased from existence. Every single record of his name and all of that was erased from existence. So yeah, sad, but we saw that coming. Winston told us this in the first part that this guy was going to be basically he was too smart for his own good. But yeah, um, and Winston thinks about how having a relationship. Well, no, he don't think about this. Well, he does like a little reflection about this, if I remember correctly. But basically, this part wants to tell us that Winston, being in this relationship with Julia, he gets better. He's getting better physically and mentally. Winston have like a weird stuff in his skin, and he was like really fucked up physically and mentally, but now he's getting better, and we noticed that with the well, I would like to say that his way of thinking throughout the book and in this part is like more normal. He's not like he's not like pessimist. It is pessimist, but not the same as the first part, and it's not like hateful. That's the thing that I noticed. It's not hateful at all in comparison with the first part. And yeah, and this chapter, Winston fantasizes about running away, but he knows that there is no. Well, he fantasized with running away and start a new life with his now new partner. To in a place that no one knows him, but we know that that's impossible. And he has a little chat with Julia and shows the difference. Well, in this conversation, it is. I remember this conversation that he had with his partner was really interesting because both have like a really big age gap. So in this conversation, it is shown like the difference in education and how the party has changed what they have done in the past. Basically, what Winston have learned about the party is totally different about what Julia has learned from the party. For example, Winston, when he was like in the school, he learned that the party have created the cars, but not the airplanes. The airplane was an invention from before, or something like that. But the education that Julia received was different. Cars and airplanes, one was made by the inner party. So yeah, we saw this little we get this little like funny information that with this little sea is the right word. Well, no, this little like yeah, but basically what I want to say is that they show us how the party changed the past and how they award themselves with invasion that they have not done to basically put themselves on the pedestal in the top in the first place. And well, they have a chat. The Winston shares his point of basically saving record from the past is useful, and and it's a quite a political conversation. Also, Julia don't show like a lot of interest about that. She is more like the type of person that cares about the present. I feel that about her, but Winston sees like more thinking about saving the past because it's the only way that the future knows what the real things are. Yeah, that's the conversation that they have. This ideology, we understand the ideology from the first part, that it's like the way of thinking of wisdom. And yeah, and Julia cares, and Julia explains why she doesn't care a lot about those topics at all. She only cares about his relationship with wisdom and her well-being. That's how the chapter ends. We jump to the chapter 6. Um, this chapter is really good. I Let's see if I remember correctly, because it's the chapter that Winston meets O'Brien. Um, and for Winston, in the previous conversation that was a lot political, he saw that, he was talking about O'Brien, that he was like sure that if he meet O'Brien, they would share a lot of. Basically, Winston was sure that O'Brien was a part of the opposition. And in chapter 6, when Wisdom meets O'Brien, we find out that O'Brien is like a part of the opposition. And they talk about the no, what am I saying? This chapter is not that. Sorry, I went a lot ahead. This chapter 6 is different. Chapter 6 is the first time that Wisdom meets O'Brien, and they only speak. This I jump ahead a lot, or whatever. This chapter they only speak. They talk a lot about the new speak dictionary, and the 10th edition of that dictionary, and Wisdom. O'Brien give like these punchlines to Winston, basically trying to make Winston say the number of the guy of time, the guy that was erased from existence. But Winston was clear and didn't say a single thing didn't reference that guy at all. Yeah, they speak about the dictionary. If I remember correctly, O'Brien like give praise to Winston, and then he give his address to Winston, and Winston thinks about his plan. Yeah, this chapter 6, I didn't understand the chapter really well because I even put like a question question mark in my notes because I didn't understand this chapter at all. But I get by this chapter is that Winston met O'Brien, and O'Brien gave him his address and went to meet Winston. But that's it. And then we jump to chapter 7. Winston have a dream. Remember his shoot. This chapter I like a lot of because Winston have like a dream. Remember his shoot. His mom, his father, and sister. Basically, this chapter gives us a lot of information about Winston past. Basically, his father disappeared. His mother grieved over his father loss. I didn't understand if his father was erased from existence or he actually just disappeared and left them a lot alone. His sister is sick. The young sister that Winston had is sick. Winston is like her. Basically, they talk a lot about Winston, how his attitude was when he was young. When he was a kid, and he was like really greedy. Food. He basically the way he acts was that food was only for him, and he's basically he wanted everything for himself. Winston was like a really greedy kid. Without understanding the sacrifice that his mother was doing, and neither understand the situation that they were, and he expressed himself with a lot of hate towards like everything, towards his mom, towards his little sister, and all of that. Um, and then eating a chocolate, and Winston stole the chocolate that his little sister was eating, and at that moment, Winston's mother abandoned him. Well deserved, in my opinion, because in this chapter, that kid was, I don't know. I will do the same. I don't like the mother. The mother representation, and it was, I mean, for Winston, it was like the representation that Winston gave of his mother. What I get by that is that his mother was like a really kind person. That actually his mother handled, spent a lot of time with Winston. She, I kind of blame Winston's mother if he have left him, well, abandoned him before. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I got this perspective that the representation of the mother is like a kind person, and Winston self reflects on feeling and how the party had no control over them. And basically, Winston, where I write it, Winston self reflects on feelings. Oh yeah, this chapter is basically self reflects on feelings and how Winston feels. And basically, this chapter is a lot about Winston. He feeling once again, because Winston was this person that was just like really poker face, and didn't feel like nothing, didn't remember nothing, didn't feel a lot. But in this chapter, he made he felt feelings, and that's what this chapter wants to tell us. Well, that's what I get about the chapter. And also, he reflects on how the party actually have no control over them. That's basically impossible for the party to have control over the people, because at the end of the day, the people, it's impossible to control their feelings, because those things cannot be controlled. If I remember correctly, that's how the part went. And that was chapter 7. Yeah, I think I jumped one chapter. I didn't. Jesus Christ. Chapter 6, 7. Did I write it wrong? Whatever. I don't find chapter 8. Oh my god. What the hell did I write here? Whatever. I don't find what I write about chapter 8. No, what am I doing? This is chapter 8. Sorry. I write a lot of things about chapter 8. Yeah, because chapter 8 is quite important. Chapter 8. Winston and Julia met O'Brien. This is the part that I was trying to tell before. This part is really good. They meet O'Brien. Basically, they're talking. Winston is like, wow, O'Brien, he's here. Oh. He's just like me. I'm literally him. That's Winston's reaction. Just the same as when I saw like a Ryan Gosling movie or something like that. That was Winston's reaction. But whatever. In this chapter, we find out that Goldstein is a real person. The Brotherhood is like the opposite force to the inner party. No one knows who is a member of the inner party. No one knows that. This was really funny, because they can surgically change appearance. O'Brien explained this, that depending of the job or something like that, their appearance, they might have changed, and yeah, basically they have the capabilities, they have the tools to do that. I don't know if with that they mean that change appearance means that basically you are dead, and another person basically is now wisdom. But yeah, I don't think that, because he said, sorry, the camera. O'Brien said like they can surgically change appearance. So yeah, they have. It seems like they have that technology. Julia hesitates to be a member, and Winston don't, because Julia is different. Basically, the things that she does is basically she actually cares a lot about his relationship with Winston, and that's what she wants to do. She wants to be with Winston. So basically, all she does is like just follow him, and Winston is like, yeah, let's fucking go. We are part of the Brotherhood. O'Brien explained then that they will die. I love this part. They will die for the cause and do anything for it. And during their lifetime, they will see no change at all. I like that because that's my way of thinking about a lot of things. I have always thought, thought, thought that um, if you fight for a cause, if you fight for rights, for all of that, sadly, in your lifetime, you will not be able to see a change. So this is me. This is my thinking about this topic. This is my way of thinking about this topic. Um, and what I think about this is that, well, yeah, during your lifetime, you will not see like any change of around that you fight for. Sadly, that's really sad, and that's the problem that I have with the rage that people show when they're fighting for a cause, because they fight for a cause and they get so upset because they see no change. Brother, you are not going to see change over the thing that you're fighting for, sadly. But that doesn't mean that your fight is not worth. Um, yeah, that's the thinking that I have about the topic in general, because if you've seen throughout time and history, let's get out of the topic a little bit. Um, People that have fought for rights, for basically, let's put example, I don't know, women's rights in the workplace. I'm pretty sure that the pioneers of that movement didn't saw a single change in that topic during their lifetime, but the work that they did, the ideology that they fight for, lived through basically outlived their life to a point that he accomplished it the purpose. Basically, that's how I see things. That's how I see fighting for something. Um, when I read this, I saw that the the thinking was quite the same, and that's what I really like. That basically, during your lifetime, you will see no change uh, when you're fighting for a cause. Or and basically, um, and we find out in this chapter that O'Brien knew the last part of the rhyme that Winston knew, that Julia knew, because they knew the rhyme, but they didn't knew like the final part of the rhyme. That's something that we get about this chapter. Then we jump to the chapter 9. Chapter 9. I didn't like this chapter. Yeah, I'm really pretty sure that this chapter has a lot of impact in the book, because yeah, during chapter 8 we get introduced to O'Brien. O'Brien tell us a lot of ghosting, and he also explained that ghosting has like there is a book about his ideology, and that every single person of the Brotherhood has to read that book. So Winston is due to read that book. Now we jump to the chapter 9. He read that book in the chapter 9. It's boring. I didn't like this chapter at all. It's the whole ideology that now, as Winston said, it explains what he already knew. This chapter explains what we already knew about how basically they are always in war, how the government keep them basically stupid, but also keep someone stupid means that a lot of those things, a lot of political views and all of that. I don't know if I didn't. I think the reason that I didn't like this chapter that much is because it's very political. Um, let's be honest. This is getting out of the topic once again. I work watching TikToks, like trending TikToks. That's my job. I watch a lot of political stuff and all of that. So topics that I don't know. Every single time there is a topic about that in a piece of media that I read or that I basically consuming for entertainment, I don't enjoy it that much. And also because there are like periods of time that basically you like philosophy books, you like novels, you like true crime. Right now, it's not my period of time that I enjoy political stuff. So yeah, I didn't enjoy this chapter that much. That's basically a chapter. I'm pretty sure that this chapter has a lot of impact on the book because it's basically a lot of information. It's a really long chapter, like really boring. Yeah, long chapter, really long, boring, political. All that I can get from this chapter is that, as Winston said, the Goldstein book explains a lot of what we already knew. And that's it. Yeah, then we jump to the. Also, Winston didn't end the book. He was not able to read all of the book. And then we jump again to a really good chapter. Chapter that was really short, but great in my opinion. I read it just a couple hours ago. I read chapter 9 and chapter 10 a couple hours ago. So are really fresh in my mind. So chapter 10, really great. Let's talk about it. Wisdom does like a big reflection on how the proles are basically the poor of the poor. How they are the future because they are basically living in their own bubble. They are like really poor, so they have lived in misery their whole life. So for Wisdom are basically they are like immortal because they know no better, and they're gonna uplift the party, and they are going to uplift the ideals of the party because being in that amount of poverty makes you basically find other way of cope, um, being happy and all of that. And he gets his reflection out of listening to a lady that always is out in the streets when they this lady is like out singing always and or something like that. She's always singing. When Winston and Julia are in their secret spot, they hear that lady sing and sing, and Winston have like a big self reflection about pearls and how they are the future. Winston says to himself that he didn't read that, but he's pretty sure that for Goldstein, the pearls are the future. And then Winston is having a conversation with Julia, and they ended up saying like, "We are dead," said Winston. Then Julia said, "Indeed, we are dead." And then they hear a voice, like a metallic voice that said, "Yeah, you are dead." Winston just goes like a ghost. Julia too. They panic. Winston jumps and they start talking, and the metallic voice starts like repeating what they say, but in a way of basically answering, but in a really funny way. I really like the way of the how it was written. We find out that in the secret spot there was a telescreen behind the picture, and a lot of people write the secret spot. Like basically people from the party, like security. I raid the room. They hit Julia. Basically, Julia gets knocked out, and they take her out of the room. They also hit Winston, but Winston they hit him like in a way that he falls only to the ground, and Julia's like unconscious. Take her out of the room, and that's the last time that Winston saw Julia. Winston is there, and the moment he started like hearing the voice in telescreen, Winston says to himself that he had heard that voice before, but he's not able to understand. He's not able to connecting the dots. He's not able to connect the dots. Until this part, we saw that Mr. Charrington, if you don't remember who Mr. Charrington is, he is the guy, the owner of that shop. Basically, the guy that sells all stuff. Basically, the owner of that top floor. And the moment that Mr. Charrington walks into the room, all of the agents, I don't know, the soldiers, they change demeanor and basically show like respect. They stop. Basically, they just start following orders. This was really I really like this part because Winston is like explaining to us how the appearance of Mr. Charrington seems a lot the same, but it's not the same. His hair is different. His eyes, something happened with his eyes. Little feature of his face are different. The skin color. Yeah, basically, Winston started explaining to us how the appearance seems the same, but with some feature changes. Winston, yeah, basically, in this chapter, we get like that feeling that what is going to happen. This chapter ends in such a in such a good way in terms of literature. For me, I really enjoy how he ended because if we remember from the first chapter and also a lot of conversation from the second, well, from the first part and a lot of conversation from the second part, we can like build the conclusion that Winston is really fearful of the tow police, and he's basically trying to be aware of that, and he also talks a lot about tow police, and he's always like that person might be someone from the tow police. But to this point of this ending of this chapter, Winston said to himself, first time of his life looking with knowledge at a member of the tow police. Now, that's for me that was awesome because we have in the previous parts and that's how this chapter ends, and that's how the second part of this book ends. Yeah, I like a lot that final phrase because as I said before, throughout the part 1 and part 2, Winston is always like, this person might be someone from the tow police, we have to be careful, he's like that, and he's always saying like, oh, the tow police is gonna kill him, is gonna for example, with time that he got caught, yeah, Winston is like, oh yeah, the tow police totally got him, but Winston is basically telling, oh, he's one of the tow police throughout the whole book, but they never gave us throughout the book. They speak about the tow police, but they never gave us like a feeling of how they were, how they look, how they act, how they move. Until this point, the entering that way, with that reflection of first time of his life, he was looking with knowledge at a member of the tow police, and that was Mr. Charrington, the guy that from before seems to be like a person from the past, a person that was trying to save the past and only have like a living because he was really old, just spending the ending of his the final days. Final days, no, it's not the right one. Basically, spending his elderly years selling stuff and remembering the past. Mr. Charrington seems like a really normal dude that basically was there to help Winston and Julia with a place to meet. But it ended up being completely the opposite. It ended up being someone from the tow police. And the whole the second part, and I really love it. Sadly, as I said before, it took me a lot of time to read the second part But it was not because I didn't like it. It was because I didn't have the gut and time to finish. And I really enjoyed taking notes of the chapters. It helped me to remember a lot what happened in this part, because I'm pretty sure that I forget a lot of things because I'm not really good taking notes. This is the first time that I'm doing. I'm gonna take notes from the other part, from the third and final part. I'm gonna take notes too because I really enjoyed it. And I think it gives like a better flow of storytelling when I'm making the video. Yeah, that's the second part. Awesome. I really enjoyed it. The first part was like the all the political stuff, all the how the world was. This part was more like more in the, I don't know, I feel it like was more fiction, was more related to personal relationships. Yeah, more focus on Winston and his partner. Um, Not focus a lot like in the war. Like the first part was basically an explanation of how um, that this that future was, how the inner party work, how, yeah, how everything was, how was the life of Winston. But now this second part is basically relationship, what they're thinking, how are their feelings, how they act towards things, and all of that. So I really enjoyed that part. Yeah, ended up in a great chapter, in my opinion. The only chapter that I didn't enjoy at all, as I said before, was the one that speak about the Goldstein book. I'm pretty sure that that chapter has a lot of weight. Has a lot of weight, but I didn't enjoy it at all. Sorry, was not my chapter. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you like it. I enjoyed it a lot, the second part. Um, I hope I finished the third part fast in a in a short period of time. So yeah, I ended up there. Gonna picture from the thumbnail, and that's it. Thank you for watching. I'm out.